Hello and welcome to Lunchtime Politics, reaching you live from our global headquarters here in the nation's commercial nerve center, Lagos. I'm Jeffrey Uzongo. Here's what's coming up on the program right now. Federal government sues sub-national authorities over alleged misconduct of local government administration, seeks order to pay allocation directly to the third tier of government. Deputy Governor of Kano State retracts statement accusing the National Security Advisor, Mr. Ribadu, of facilitating the return of the removed Emir of Kano, Aminu Ado Bayero. An independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, commences continuous voter registration in Edo State ahead of the governorship election coming up in September. Well, thanks again for joining us on the program. Let's begin with what we consider the breaking news coming in from the nation's capital, Abuja, where the ministers are briefing as part of activities to mark the first-year anniversary of President Bola Tinubu. The federal government has now announced that it will provide a single-digit interest rate to media houses in Nigeria. That's the latest coming from those briefings in the nation's capital. The speaking at the third ministerial sectorial update in Abuja, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mr. Mohammed Idris, announced that the Ministry of Trade and Investment will provide the single-digit loan to media houses. So the minister says the media houses now urges them to develop what they consider bankable proposals to enable them benefit from the loans. Also in attendance at that sectorial briefing are the Minister of Budget and National Planning, Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, and Minister of State for Agriculture. And this is a developing story, of course. As soon as we get all the details, we'll bring it to you and update you. But the biggest news from that briefing is the fact that media houses can now apply for loans, and it's going to be single digits. That's the latest from the Bola Tinubu administration as far as these stakeholders or media briefings are concerned, as a build-up to May the 29th, which is just 2 days away from now. But they are saying that proposals must be bankable to be able to access and benefit from the single-digit loan, which is the crux of the matter. Let's now head to Edo State, where the commencement of the continuous voter exercise has actually started ahead of the November, or September, I should say, governorship election in that state. Our correspondent who is covering the exercise reports that resident Electoral Commissioner in the state led the National Electoral Commissioners and colleagues to monitor the CVR, that is the continuous voter registration exercise, in areas that were covered. You can see them there. Citizens, including those who are physically challenged, are seen participating in the process as part of their civic responsibility. INEC had announced the schedule of activities ahead of the two off-cycle governorship elections in Edo and Ondo states, including the continuous voter registration to capture persons who may be voting for the first time and others. In the meantime, a federal high court in Abuja has dismissed a suit by the impeached deputy governor of Edo State, Philip Shaibu, seeking the nullification of the February 22nd governorship primary of the People's Democratic Party in the state that was won by Aswe Igodalo. Justice James Omotosho held that Shaibu lacked the local standing to have challenged the outcome of the primary because he did not fully participate in the exercise and was not present at the venue of the primary the day it was held. He held that the suit by Mr. Shaibu was premature because he failed to exhaust the internal dispute resolution mechanism of the party before heading to court. Justice Omotosho equally held that there was sufficient evidence to show that Mr. Igodalo actually won that primary. Let's say, of course, now the federal government has sued the governors of the 36 states of the Federation, the Supreme Court now, over alleged misconduct in the administration of the local government areas. The suit filed by the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Mr. Lateef Fagbemi, is seeking full autonomy for all local government areas in the country. In the suit, the federal government specifically prayed the court to issue an order prohibiting state governors from embarking on what they consider unilateral, arbitrary, and unlawful dissolution of democratically elected local government leaders. Suing the states through their respective attorneys general, the AGF prayed the court for an order to allow direct payment of local government fund from the Federation account in line with the provisions of the Constitution as against the alleged unlawful joint account created by governors. Let's move on now to the president defending the construction of the 700-kilometer Lagos-Calabar Coastal Road, insisting that the benefit outweighs other risks that has been highlighted. The president, buttressing his point, believes the ambitious road will open up a vista of economic possibilities, attract investment, and connect communities along its path, a position he held during the flag-off of that project, among others, in Lagos. The nation's leader says it is a bragging day for him and promises the road will be completed. And this comes amid criticism of how the road, with an estimated cost of 15 trillion naira, has affected businesses and ancestral lands and homes.
This road, we are determined to do it. The way we are going, we have a road that we outlive all of us here present. That is how to build the future. The project is just more than a mere road. It's a symbol of hope, unity, and prosperity. It will connect communities, bring prosperity to people, create opportunity for millions. Where at it? Looking to the right side of the road, you have opportunities. Hold on to the left side of it, you have prosperity. For our nation to excel, we just have to be bold and courageous in our endeavors.
Away from Lagos, the Deputy Governor of Kano State, Aminu Gwarzo, has retracted his comment, accusing the National Security Advisor of facilitating the return of the deposed Emir of Kano, Aminu Ado Bayero, to the state over the weekend. The Office of the National Security Advisor had denied the claims, maintaining that the Office of the NSA did not provide the aircraft that returned the deposed monarch to the state, as alleged by the Deputy Governor. He had also threatened legal action against the Deputy Governor if he failed to retract the comments and publicly apologize. Let's take a listen to the Deputy Governor.
Two flights that smuggling the deposed Emir to Kano. The security cover that escorted him and the security arrangement on ground that received him and took him to Nasarawa House. We investigated deep and further, and we came to understand and accept the statements of the National Security Advisor that he was not involved. But thank God, at least we have been able to inform him and all concerned that this is what is happening, which may not have came to their knowledge. And that was the explanation given by the National Security Advisor, that he is not in the know as to what is happening and why it is happening. Knowing his pedigree, knowing his antecedents, knowing his integrity and devotion to duty, I believe if he has any hand in it, he will be very straightforward and say yes. Now that he has refuted it, and as I've said, we have further information that confirms that position. There is nothing we can say but to apologize to his person and the office on behalf of the governor, the government of Kano State, for any embarrassment or inconvenience that might have caused him.
Well, in the meantime, the Kano State Police Command says it has uncovered a plan by some groups to unleash mayhem on the state, specifically an attack targeting the State Assembly complex. Addressing a conference in Kano last night, the Commissioner for Police in the state, Hussein Gumel, said the police and other security agencies have mobilized to tackle anyone trying to cause terror in the state. Well, the issue of Kano, as well as other issues that have to do with legal interpretation, will be our focus. But we'll take a quick break, and my guest joins me afterwards. Join us again. Welcome back. We're being joined by Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Kayode Adelola, joins us via Zoom to make sense of what's going on in Kano. Senior Advocate, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
As always, how does the law see and possibly interpret what we're seeing play out in Kano? Some people have called it Game of Thrones. Others have called it all kinds of royalty power play and all of that. But what does the law see?
Well, what I see here is in 2019, in December, the former governor got the House of Assembly to promulgate a law which set up new emirate councils, and by which also the former emir, Sanusi Lamido, was deposed. Now, what has happened is another government has come and has repealed that law, the Kano State Emirates Council law, and simply says that all those who are made emirs under that repealed law should simply go back to status quo, that is, to the former titles and under the customs and the traditions of the Emirates. And the former emir should simply come back. Now, the question is, this is the law as of today, but is it good law? Is it the law that will bring peace? Is it in accordance with the customs and traditions of the people? Is it the law that will ensure that there is equity, fairness, and justice? Those are issues that are flying in the air. But you see, we cannot rule out the fact that there's a lot of politicking going on here. One government comes, removes an emir by promulgating a law. Another one has come, repealing that law, and has powers to do so through the House of Assembly. And what we have now is people are demonstrating. Some people are in favor of the new emir coming in. Well, the old emir is coming back. Some people seem to say that Bayero should still retain his position. So whilst we may say that it's a matter of law. There's no doubt in my mind that there's a lot of politics going on here. So if we're not careful, we shall have musical chairs here. So in other words, if Sanusi Lamido is allowed to retain his seat as emir, another government may come and then remove him again. So where will this stop? The question we may need to ask ourselves is, should the state government participate in issues pertaining to customs and traditions of the people in whatever state we may be referring to? I don't think so. I think what we should be talking about is whether the state government should simply be validating what the decision of the local councils are.
All right, still on this Kanu issue, shouldn't the law is meant to, or extant legislation is meant to protect institutions like traditional institutions, but it feels like what we're seeing play out is even making it more susceptible, isn't it?
There's no doubt in my mind. So that's why I said there's a lot of politics being played here. If we want to be sincere, the customs and traditions of people are things which have been handed down over time. They're not of our received English law, for example. They're not issues for us to legislate. We may have guidelines just to ensure that there's equity and justice in play. But when we have a governor who deliberately removes an emir or puts one in place, then where's the role of the custom of the people? Where's the role of the tradition of the people? And those are the things that concern me. So we cannot continue this way. We must begin to draw lines where they ought to be. A governor should allow the people to make their choices. As it is, no one can really tell how far this whole situation will go on for people for, and I don't want to wish that Kano will burn up, because that's a very notable city, commercial center for that matter, and everyone who is participating in this should use their common sense rather than their political hearts.
At the end of the day, we're trying to look for how laws can help us insulate traditional institutions, sacred institutions like this, from possible whims and caprices of the political class as much as possible. But let's move on now from that to talk about the latest development with the federal government and subnationals, the state. The Attorney General has filed a suit at the Supreme Court, insisting that the way the local government is managed is antithetical to our ground norm, and it has to reverse. And he's seeking some specific orders, such orders as payments should be, or governors should not just wake up due to disagreement and remove elected officials, and payment from the federation account should go straight to the local government. Let's start with the very first one. Isn't this a very welcome development? Why should this be a subject of legislation? Doesn't the Constitution guarantee that already?
Now, let's ask ourselves, what does the Constitution say? Section 7 is the one that deals with local government. Section 7 of 1999 Constitution as amended. And it simply says that there should be democratically elected local government officers, because I'm sure that refers also to the chairman. It says democratically elected. But in that same section, it says something to the effect that the state government must provide legislation to enable that to happen. So we have placed into the hands of the governments to that extent. We have. The Constitution does not specifically state that the local governments shall be autonomous or they shall not be or not autonomous. But the truth is that they are the third tier of government. We have the federal government, we have the state government, and we have the local government. No one is subordinate to the other. They may be the lowest tier of government, but they're not subordinate to the government, to the state government, the governments. To that extent, I do not think the state governors have the right, because there's no provision also for caretaker committees in the Constitution. That's an aberration, it is wrong, and should not be allowed. But we must also recognize the fact that local governments have a very critical role to play in the governance of the country. For example, Section 7 of the Constitution, which I first referred you to, refers to the fourth schedule of that same Constitution. In that fourth schedule of the Constitution, the role or the functions of local governments are enumerated. It might interest you to know that Section 2 of that schedule says that the local government shall participate in the governance of the states. And it specifically says in provision of primary, adult, and vocational education. It might interest you also to know that local governments are also empowered, in fact, given the responsibility for the development of agricultural and natural resources apart from minerals. Those are very, very heavy burdens that they have to bear. They can only do so if they have the funding to do so. Otherwise, those functions will lie there on the pages of the papers of our Constitution, and they will be unable to do them. The Constitution also, in their fourth schedule, says that the local governments must also provide healthcare. That's why when we had Professor Ransom Kuti, who talks of who ensured and pushed the primary healthcare program. It started from the local governments. And we have 774 local governments. If all of them were to participate in food and agriculture and natural resources, we will banish hunger. But everybody looks up to the presidency of the state government. So the role of the local governments.
All right, my apologies, Leonard. Just land on your thoughts. Yes. So I can throw in one question and we'll wrap up in 30 seconds.
Well, I think, honestly, the governments of the respective states that we have should allow the local governments to breathe, manner of speaking. They should allow them to breathe. Because if they allow the local governments to do what they ought to do, including the construction of public highways, streets, we shall have a better society. There's no doubt in my mind. But they need funding to do this. And so they should stop taking over the funding. And one last thing. I hope in fighting for the autonomy of local governments, we're not simply asking local governments to replace the governments of the states in taking our funds and pocketing it. Otherwise, we may begin to find local governments and their councillors having SUVs and the state house of local government chairman as well. God forbid.
All right. Some are already saying they have those SUVs already on a lighter note. Though we don't have so much time. Thank you so much, Leonard Silk. I wanted to talk about Section 162, subsection 6, that talks about this joint account as an issue. But we must thank you. Some other time we will explore this issue. It's just getting started. Thank you, Leonard Silk, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Kayode Adelola. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
And in an interesting turn of events, the Cross River State House of Assembly has affirmed Mr. Elvet Ayambem as the Speaker of the 10th Assembly. This comes after there was an intervention by the governor among the members of the House. In a statement by the Chief Press Secretary to the Speaker, he commends the governor for his intervention and calls on his colleagues in the House to commit to developing the state. Let's move on now to Rivers State, where amid the political crisis in that state, Governor Siminalayi Fubara administration has been commissioning some projects in his 1 year. Our correspondent Deborah Agbalama takes a look at the last 1 year under Fubara.
Governor Siminalayi Fubara, like his other colleagues, took oaths to serve their states on May 29, 2023. He succeeds Chief Nyesom Wike as governor.
A lot of people who started this journey with us ought to have been here with us, but unfortunately, they are not here.
4 months into his tenure, a gathering storm surfaces in form of a rift between him and his predecessor, causing a division in the House of Assembly and unsettling his government. Not even a peace accord brokered by President Bola Tinubu could change the situation.
Basis of income to farms will pave the way.
How has Governor Fubara steered the ship of state amid these challenges? He acknowledges losing several months to political instability.
What we want to do for our people is to bring governance to our people, service delivery at record time and cost-effective.
To mark his first year in office, he has so far commissioned completed projects and initiated new ones, including Aleto Ebubu Eteo Road, Elele Omoko Road, Ogoni Andoni Opobo Road, Andoni Section, Emohua Kalabari Road, Trans-Kalabari Road, Ebeda Internal Roads, Okania Obogoro Road, dualized Omoko Ebema Road. 2 months ago, the governor also launched a low-cost housing project in Ikore LGA and the Mechanic Spare Part Village in Ohibo LGA. Recently, he flagged off a 4 billion naira seed funding for SMEs in the state.
And those are some of the tracking the development of Rivers State amidst the political crisis since he became governor. Talking about Governor Siminalayi Fubara. Thank you so much for your time and, of course, your usual company. I'm Jeffrey Uzonga. You've been served on Lunchtime Politics.